let's talk about the Hapax. The Hapax, the Hapax. This is not a review. I'm not going to give you a tutorial on how to use it. This is like how I use it. So closer to a tips and tricks, but I don't even know if these are tricks. These are just like patterns that I like to do. So hopefully you get something out of it. First things first, this thing is a machine. It starts up really fast, has really nice display. Everything is really nice to touch and play with. Like, these are the first pads that I haven't like explicitly hated, because they're like nice. They're really nice. I'll get into that in a second. But the reason I got it was because I had already been using the Scorp Pyramid heavily primary sequencer for a long time, and one of its downsides is that if I want to save a track while it's playing, playback will be interrupted. If I want to switch to load a new project, playback will be interrupted. And even though it's got quite a lot of patterns, effectively unlimited patterns, they're not unlimited, but they're more than you'll ever need. And I think 32 different sections that you can have. Sections are sort of like groups of patterns. And that 32 section limitation meant that I can only squeeze about 20 to 30 minutes out of a track if it's fast-paced before I need to switch to something else. And that also meant that I got really creative with switching. So like if I was going to switch, maybe I'd like flick over my modular gate to be always on, or like play a different sequencer or something like that to fill, because you don't want that silence while you're like, I'm loading a new project, everybody, hold on. You know, like it's not cool. So when I saw this, I immediately pre-ordered it. The second I read, I can do 2 projects at once, and in fact load and save without stopping playback. Like, I can save a song while playback is going, and that is wonderful for me, because like occasionally I'll do like patch from scratch and stream it, and sometimes that comes up with cool stuff, and I don't want to lose it. So like, sorry y'all, I gotta save this song. Hold on. It's saving. All right, let's keep going. Like, that's really annoying. So that's why I got this. It's really nice hardware. It feels really good. It's just the right weight. There were some like very minor knob issues with the first batch where some of the knobs were sort of failing, and you wouldn't be able to click down because they'd push too far. But that was like an easy fix. Like, you could just take a little bit of paper or whatever, wad it up, put it in those knobs. But I swapped these out for aesthetic reasons. You know, just trying some stuff out, you know, fashion. But other than that, it's had a handful of bugs. All new devices, complex devices with any kind of programming tend to, in my experience. But this is Scorp we're talking about. The Pyramid, when I got it, it was Mark III, and they like blown it out of the park, making it like a completely reliable, awesome machine. So this one, while there were a few bugs, I think like a couple weeks in, it was stable enough for me to use as my primary. This was like just beautiful for me, not just for the project switching, but because it freed up space on my counter here. I don't need a key step with this. My key steps, I don't know. Oh, sorry about that. My key step's down there, and also I unplugged the microphone weirdly in my pocket. Yeah, so I don't need that anymore, which is wonderful. If I want to input notes, hop over to live view, and then like, it's really easy. It took me a minute to get used to playing notes on this grid, because like, if I push this, why are all of these the same? That seems useless, but it in fact makes it easier because you want to do a chord, right? Like, really easy no matter where you are. Easy chord shapes. And don't even get me started on chord mode. That thing rules. You're just going to have to trust me on this. I watched a bunch of videos where people demonstrate chord mode, and it's sick. but the videos did not convince me until I tried it. Like, it's awesome. But one thing I don't know how to convey well is that these buttons on here, they're all like really nice and smooth, like almost like a soft glass. And the reason that's important is because you can like drag your finger around almost like a touch screen. Like, you can do that with automation and stuff. Like, it's really easy. So that's that on the hardware side of things. Like, I'm enthralled with it. One of the first things I did was customize it with some nice black tape here. And the reason is I kept losing track of where I was in the sequence. Like, I'd want to hit like 4 to the floor, and like I'm not paying attention when I'm programming stuff in all the time. I want to know where 9 is. I want to, you know, where those things are. Like, it helps. So I just duplicated what's up here down here. Quality of life improvement for me, huge. Also on the top here, the labels for the various gates out and CV out and stuff like that, they are upside down, so when you like peek over, you can read it easier, but they are also black on black, sort of indented, which I found problematic, so I put a piece of tape over and again wrote in Sharpie. Easy peasy, very low, like not even a real complaint. The important things are pretty well lined up, like the MIDI out A is lined up with these 2 buttons, so like if I'm swapping between sequencers quickly, easy peasy, MIDI ins all the way left, etc. What else? Getting tired of that sequence yet? No, I'm gonna go back to it. All right, this is my first time doing any kind of video like this, so I don't know, hopefully it goes well. I half expect something to die halfway through, or maybe I forgot to hit record. Anyway, next up, patterns. Like, this is like the thing with this sequencer is the patterns. You've got 16 tracks here, all numbered on the top, and 8 patterns per track, sort of. I like keeping the bottom bar blank so that I can like kill all of the notes reliably across any project that I make. But the rest are usable. So you have 7 per track the way I use it. You can actually mute tracks, which is like sort of the mute I don't like as much because it's not necessarily synced to bars or anything. It's pretty instant the second I let go of mute, which is usable. I typically use that when I'm switching projects sometimes, things like that, and it does that sort of automatically. But the 7 bar limitation isn't huge. It's like something I think could be improved from my particular workflow. And the reason is most of these channels actually map to a specific instrument. There's a couple of things I can condense, like, for example, track 14 is Furby's. Oh, hold on, let me make sure it's on Furby mode. Where are you? Right, it's Furby's. It's my rample, so it's essentially a four track sampler, and then I have a couple tracks over here that are essentially one hits. I could combine those because they're all right next to each other on the same Cosmo module, but that frees up a little space, which I'll talk about what I would rather use it for than extra tracks, or like a duplicate track of something. Right now I like to organize based on like how I'm playing through the song. So if I'm going through all these sections here, again, a section is like a collection of tracks organized, they'll sort of go all the way through down this list. And I've organized them in a way that, like, if I haven't played a song in a month, I can come back and play through like some of the sections in an order, get a feel for what's what, and then I'm free to like go through and pick and match. Maybe I want these up here. Like, it's a lot more performable to be able to play like that. It's really fun. But that also means there's some duplication. Like, some of these might be exactly the same sequence, but made so that if I hit this, it sounds good. If I hit this, it sounds good, right? And so that's why I quickly run out of tracks. Like, I may have like 4 or 5 unique patterns on like the bass line or something, but some of those might be repeated so that if I hit this, it sounds good, like as expected. I really like the ability to play through all of these. That's why I would like, even 8 more would be more than adequate. 8 more patterns per track. I'm gonna load up a, this is like a really high energy song. You know what, let's go to like the middle. There's like some sort of, oh, not that part. That's, I say there's mellow, but it's like not super mellow. So like if I go to like, let's see here, I want this, that, I want to switch to a different thing. Right, got that running. I can hit the whole bar and it'll sound good, but I also like to do build up. So like I can just pick like the instruments I know where they are, so bass line. Get a lead sequence going, maybe soften that a little bit. Anyway, it's fun to bounce between those. So that's why I organize tracks that way. So there are some duplications, but it means I can perform. Like the whole point of this instrument is to perform it nicely. I'm going to talk about sequences really fast because this song actually has more sequences than probably the rest. Because this is something I wrote to try to get the most out of the pyramid. It essentially used all 32 of the sections on the pyramid. So I ported it over. And when I did that, it wasn't the first one. I learned a few things. One is naming these sections. I can name them whatever I want, but I found the names kind of irrelevant. It's going to be hard to remember what they are. So instead I thought like, okay, well, most of these are like some sort of build-up or progression, occasionally like a single bar thing before a drop or transition, and then another section, right? Like just a bunch of sections. So I named them using hex values. So I started 0, 0, worked my way up to 0, 3. So let's play through that. All right, look at this 4-bar sync a lot of the time just to like get an idea of where things are. Right, and you can hear I'm sort of building up towards something. And I'll drop down to 1 bar. I forgot where I am, so I'll look at this. Pretty close to the 4-bar. Then I'll start counting. 1, 2. Right, like that's how I do it. And how do I know to switch? Like I basically have sequences 1 through, or sections 0 through 4. And on the 4th one, I put a little underscore afterwards to just let me know, like, hey, play this on the last bar of whatever the sequence is. Like, this is a thing that cuts out other stuff, probably, or does something unique for 1 bar before I go to the next section. And I use that pattern pretty consistently, and that makes it really easy to go through. And if I don't remember a song, I'll be able to play it later. Now, if I remember to, how to make the voices sound and all that, that's a different story. But that's how I do that. But I also came up with sort of like a few more underscores to let me know, like, this is when I want to switch to another project. So in this case, I want to switch to another project to play sort of an interlude. So let's get that section playing real quick. And I'll load up the other track, the other project. And I like that it starts the cursor where my current project is, so I don't have to scroll a bunch. I have my named projects as ones I like to play over and over again, and then the rest are pretty much dates. So I can load up that project. It loads it up sort of muted. And I'm just going to the appropriate sample. And then what I like to do is I go to 8 bars. So I can then hit mute on this one, go over to this project, make sure everything's unmuted, and then just cue that up, and then I just wait. There we go, transition. And this is a 16-bar sequence in this case, so I'll wait for it to play through once. Then I want to go back to the main track. So once I'm through that 8-bar, cue it up to mute itself. And I go, whoops, over to the other project, go to the next section, also queued up at 8. Here we go. All right, so that's how project switching can work. I like doing it sort of performatively. I haven't written a ton of stuff with multiple projects in mind yet. I've mostly been sort of like doing some housekeeping over the last few weeks and tightening up some performances, but this has made things just really nice. I'm gonna load up a different project. I think Black Box is probably a good one because it's simpler. Probably should have started with that one. Yeah, switch tempo. Okay, so I don't know why. Oh, there it is. It was just at the bottom. Okay, so we have the sections there. Oh, I see what happened. That was kind of a bug where I was on, I think, a section so far down. I don't know. Anyway, nothing's broken. Everything's working as well as it could be. But let's see. First, we need to unmute it. Okay, so we have a high energy track. This one is simpler, it's shorter, it's a lot of fun, but you can see how I've arranged the patterns here are entirely with playability in mind. Like every single one of these is probably identical. Like I bet if I mute this, go to one even like one step, if I play through this and switch through these, yeah, they're all the same, right? But that's okay. I don't mind that they're the same because it means no matter where I am in this song, when I'm playing through it with this or with this, I can cut out exactly what I want. So if I'm like doing this, right? So that's what I like to do there. I like to make it so that if I click any of these, I'm ready to go. I have a good sequence. Yeah, I can do some build-ups and things, but who's going to remember that in a few weeks, you know? So this is so I can perform it later. Now I'm going to talk about some of the more fun sort of writing tracks details. So let's just do a new one. Sure, let's load the default project. A lot of the time I'm doing some combination of like, ooh, a little high pitch, like playing in a sequence in my head or whatever. I might record it in. If I record it in, I'll put a quick like tempo, like metronome track in or something. But more typically is I'll program it in so I can get things a little weirder than I would initially come up playing with it. So like, let's say I want to start with like E. I rotate this over to E, sort of like. And now everything is sort of just transposed to that. Then I click on step, and there's a couple things happening. There's like a learn thing here, which if I click that, that means every note I press over here will be the bottom row. So if I hold that, like go to G, it'll be G down here. I liked that at first, but the more I played with this, the more I just preferred to program it relatively. So I'd like scroll down to G4 or wherever I wanted to start and program things in that way, which is really nice. Then for drum tracks, it's pretty similar. It's like first thing I do is switch the track and then I change it into a drum track over here. And then from there, I have these pads. Whoops, we are on something weird is happening here. What channel are we on? Oh, channel 9 for some reason. Don't know why that is. Probably my fault, but these should be on 10. All right. Drums. Yeah, drums are pretty easy, right? Like, man, that's a crater right now. Let me turn that down to like, right? Get some snare. Sometimes I like ratchets to be a little insane on places because it feels very glitchy. Right? Changes the pitch of a thing. Anyway, drums, pretty straightforward. You've got for the sequencer because it's 8 notes. I would love it to be 16, but I'm okay with 8. The pads show velocity. I don't actually use velocity. I think only one of my, like the drum brute impact lets me, it has 2 velocity levels, so who cares. But I like that they're huge pads. Essentially anywhere I hit on here triggers it, so I don't have to be super accurate when I'm like doing whatever the thing is. Sorry, that was the worst drum pattern ever, but you get the idea. One thing that would be nice is to be able to set the MIDI out to B or another MIDI other than A. The reason is I actually want to either play my drum brute impact or that drum set, and they could both be on the same channel, just on different MIDI outs, and could have similar drum patterns for both. And if I want to switch to a different thing real quickly and try it out, I could do that. So that's the main reason for that. That's like my main request, other than a little more patterns. What else? I'm trying to think. Automation I hardly use. Effects are awesome. So if I go to like this, I think this one's actually B, double check. And I don't know why your channel twins go. Cool. And let's mess with some effects. So if I go to effects here, the ones I like to use the most are ARP. So if I do this, right, and you can change the style, so up, down, all that stuff, octaves, like chord stuff. Anyway, I don't get too complex with that, but what's nice is if I hold this down, I can move the ARP just over a little bit and put in a harmonizer, which I like doing. Harmonizer or like a randomizer and a scale, like are really cool ways to sort of get interesting patterns. Harmonizer makes it just trivial to do ARPs, like one note stuff. So on the second note, I can be like up 5, the next note up an octave. So if I just hold down, and let's do it, let's change his voice to be a little more friendly to this. Let's try that. Right, like instant ARP glory. So that's just like the super high level effects thing. Like you can arrange them how you want. Like they're cool and really performable. Snapshot's pretty cool. I haven't used that a ton. You can basically snapshot a state, change a bunch of stuff, like sort of get real destructive with it, and then hit like basically undo it, reset it to the previous state. Really fun to do when you're exploring ideas. Lots of undo. Undo is really reliable on this from what I've used. Like we're pretty reliable. Copies and pastes and things like that. You can move tracks around. So like if that's in the wrong spot, I can just hold it down and move it around wherever I want it to fit. Yeah, so that's the high level of Hapax. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to cover. It's kind of a long video already. Let's try loading another project real quick. Like there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. Just trying to think. You know what? Let's just load up the other project so I'm not changing context too much. And unmute it. I actually kind of want a setting to make it so I don't have to unmute it every time, but that requires you having that blank row. Yeah, so let's see here. Can't even talk over that because it just makes me want to like party really hard for a second there. Yeah, I don't know. This is a great device. Let me know if you have any questions, if you want to see more of these. I don't do these kind of things that often. And it's probably way too long since I'm not editing anything down because I hate editing so much. Yeah. What else? The CV out and gates out work nicely. I use them all the time. I typically will use them as clock sort of things just so I don't have to run like a cable from way over there to way over there. What else? I don't know. It's a cool device. Does the thing. Does it well. There's plenty of improvements or things to expand upon. And I have no doubt that Swarp will make it happen. Yeah. Also, the screens are a huge improvement too. I really like the 2 screens. I like always knowing where I'm at. The pyramid's actually a little funky in that like if I hit play right now, you can see the progress across each track. That's not like super accurate on the pyramid. Like it's just a little bit of lag or delay or something going on there where they're not the same. Anyway, this thing rules. Get it. If you don't, well, if it sort of appeals to you. Oh, polyphony. Yeah, let's talk polyphony. So on the pyramid, you could like select like 11. Like 11.7 or something goofy like that, like really easily, and it just sort of like does the math for you, and you can, like me, dumb your way through cool polyphonic tracks. Like you want some Terminator drums or whatever, get into Polyphony. Or unusual time signatures rather. And on this one, there's not such a thing. Like that doesn't really exist in the same way. Instead, you've got track elasticity. So right now I'm on track 1, and I can go through this thing till I get to track elasticity. And let's say I want 3/4, I got to do a little bit of math. So what's 3 divided by 4 is 0.75, which gives you 75%. So I would scroll this down to 75%, and then make the track length just 12 notes. There's some funkiness to this. I haven't quite enjoyed doing polyphony with it yet, particularly when you're like switching from one track to the next, like the things, I don't know. So it's okay. It's a different kind of polyphony. It does it, but it doesn't quite do always what I expect, which is it's not great. But I mean, for simpler things like 3/4, you can make it work. It's fine. For like 11.7, I don't even know off the top of my head. Like what is 11.7? Let's do some math on my phone because I'm lazy. 11 divided by 7. So that would have to be 157.14285,714%. If you're into that thing. I don't even know if that's a real time signature. That's how dumb I am. Anyway, that's polyphony. BPM changes pretty much work as you expect. Yeah, it's cool. You can sequence all sorts of stuff with this thing. Oh yeah, drums. Let's talk about drums again. Sorry. We're sort of rambling all over the place. I should have like mapped things out. But let's load up a different project. I don't know. Maybe this one. Maybe not. Played this one the other night. Yes, I would like to set the tempo to that, and I would like to unmute it. And then I would like to take a look at the drums. I think this is a single column drum, so I'm gonna load one more project. I apologize for wasting your time. But what I'm gonna get at here is that I like to sometimes have 2 tracks side by sides that are the same, so sort of. So I'll have 2 drum tracks next to each other. In this case, I have a track here and here, and I'm pretty sure they're both drum tracks. Let's see. Yeah, they're both drum tracks going to the same things. Like that doesn't change at all. And the reason that's useful is both in a playing live perspective and just like like sometimes you just need more patterns, especially with drums. But typically when I'm playing live or like writing stuff live, like I'm streaming a patch from scratch or something, I like the left column to be more like kicks and stuff, and the right column maybe just like hats and stuff. And I don't necessarily separate those, but sometimes there's phrases where you just want one or the other things, and that's sort of how I line things up. But the killer thing is with that, I can actually program I can program the next drum sequence without it playing. So I can like be on a sequence, have this right column muted while the left column is playing through a pattern, and I'll be writing the sequence. And then when I'm ready to switch over, I just unmute the track and switch over, and boom, instant transition without having to like make a lot of noise or mess with stuff. So that's why I like doing that primarily. In this case, it was a necessity. I just have like a lot of drum tracks. So like I start here. Right, like that kind of thing. Anyway, I think that's the last of my sort of tips and tricks or whatever. So, yeah. There's lots of shortcuts and things. You're going to have to read the manual, and I'm sorry for that. It's a well-written manual, but there's a lot to it, and you won't remember it all. So start with the basics, and then get more deep as you need to. Like once you realize you need to get into like 30-second notes or like really glitchy sounding, like really rapid stuff, learning to zoom in and out and compose that way is also helpful. Anyway, let me know what I should talk about next. Yeah, that's the Hapax. I'm gonna mute myself. Hope your week's going well, all things considered.